Hey everyone, this is What If Fan bringing you another part of What If sign-in system in high school DxD. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Please make sure to support the creator. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 11, The Unexpected Defeat of Kiba Yuto. But I wasn't paying attention to the girls' exclamations and astonishment. My focus was entirely on Kiba. I smiled, a surge of excitement running through me. You're really strong, Kiba-san. This match has really gotten my blood pumping. In that case, I have no choice but to go all out. I feel the same way, Hibari-san. Fighting you is truly exhilarating. Kiba's face also bore a smile. He hadn't faced such a challenging opponent in a long time. Without another word, I launched my attack. The force of my aura felt like a small mountain pressing down on him. As Kiba recovered under the intense pressure, he saw the black energy radiating from Zangetsu, almost seeming to ignite the air around it. Suddenly, I wrapped the white cloth around Zangetsu's hilt and began to spin it like a propeller, then whoosh, I flung it forward. Seeing Zangetsu flying towards him, Kiba was momentarily surprised that I could attack like this. But he quickly recovered and swung his demonic sword, knocking Zangetsu away with a horizontal slash. Just as Kiba was preparing to counterattack, I pulled Zangetsu back with the cloth and continued to spin it, attacking him again. This time, the attacks were like a raging storm, the blade whistling through the air, sharp and relentless. Faced with such a violent onslaught, Kiba could only defend, desperately parrying with his demonic sword. In the blink of an eye, several tears appeared on Kiba's school uniform. He was panting heavily, sweat dripping from his forehead. He gritted his teeth, struggling to withstand the continuous barrage of attacks, his body swaying as if he might collapse at any moment. After deflecting Zangetsu once more, we both stopped, creating some distance. Unlike me, who stood calmly, single-handedly spinning my Zanpakuto, Kiba was breathing heavily, his chest heaving, and cold sweat dripping from his forehead. He was barely able to stand. The onlooking girls were stunned into silence. They had never imagined that Kiba, who was so strong in their eyes, would be pushed to such a state. Kiba-san, it's time to bring this match to an end. My voice was full of confidence. The battle will be over in an instant, so please be very careful, Kiba-san. Here I come. As soon as I finished speaking, Kiba narrowed his eyes, his pupils contracting, focusing intently on me from a distance. He held his breath, his gaze fixed on me, as if mirroring a crimson reflection. He was completely alert to my movements. In the silence, his heartbeat became clearer and more powerful. A gentle breeze blew past, bringing a refreshing coolness that cleared the mind. The girls held their breath, watching us face off. With a whoosh, I vanished from their sight. Then, like a phantom, I reappeared behind Kiba. What? Kiba's face froze as he saw me appear behind him like a ghost. Without time to think, Kiba instinctively swung his demonic sword backward, trying to force me away. But just as he was about to counter, a cold sensation touched his neck, and a strand of hair slowly drifted down from his head. The victor had been decided. I'm impossible. This is unbelievable. Rias and the others were too shocked to speak. Kiba's strength was undoubtedly that of a peak mid-class. He was just a step away from breaking through to high class. And based on my performance so far, Rias estimated that I was probably around the level of a peak low class or maybe just entering mid-class. But the fact remained that I had used my sword to cut a strand of Kiba's hair and subdued him. She racked her brains but couldn't figure out how. After pondering for a few seconds, Rias hesitantly spoke. Kyoya-kun, was that space magic? The expressions on Rias and the others' faces were a mixture of shock and disbelief at the power and trump cards I had revealed. Even the emotionless Kaneko stared at me with a complicated expression, not knowing what to say. Kiba stared at me in astonishment for a long moment, then let out a bitter laugh, his eyes filled with respect. You really have a lot of tricks up your sleeve, Hibari-san. It's truly surprising. But tell me, was that final teleporting move some kind of unknown sacred gear or magic? Hearing Kiba ask this question again, Rias and the others also looked at me expectantly, waiting for my answer. I smiled wryly. I wished I had a space-type sacred gear or magic, but the system hadn't provided me with one. But I still smiled and explained. Not really. It's just a type of space-time ninjutsu. Rias sighed softly. She had heard of the ninja arts from the East. She had been surprised by his high-level swordsmanship and close combat. Who would have thought he had a space ninjutsu as a hidden card? His true nature was becoming more and more of a mystery. Kyoya-kun, you're being naughty again, hiding things like ninjutsu from us. Akino's eyes darted playfully, a mischievous glint in them. Then, she turned her seductive body towards Rias and asked. Rias, I bet that based on Kyoya-kun's track record, he's definitely hiding even more secret trump cards. Don't you think so? Yes. I have the same feeling. Rias spoke softly, her gaze fixed on me, her desire to make me her peerage member growing stronger. Feeling Rias's burning gaze, I felt a little uneasy. Although it was flattering to be stared at by a beautiful, busty girl, knowing Rias's intentions made me a little nervous. But on the bright side, I had completed the task of defeating Kiba. I wondered what kind of reward I would receive this time. Ding! Defeated Kiba Yuto. Reward, mid-class peak physique and magic power enhancement card. Hearing the system's voice, I paused. As if the system knew exactly what I needed. What I lacked most right now was magic power and physical strength. Although I had some decent wide-range AoE attacks and close combat abilities, without sufficient magic power, I couldn't truly unleash the power of Zangetsu and the Rumble fruit. Similarly, I lacked the stamina for prolonged battles. This reward was exactly what I needed. Chapter 12, Power Boost. After using the enhancement card, I felt a wave of comfortable warmth wash over me, erasing the fatigue from the battle. I immediately checked my status screen. Host, Hibari Kyoya. Physique. Mid-class, peak. Magic power, mid-class, peak. Abilities, 3 type of Haki, Rokushiki, Rumble fruit, weakness removed, Flying Thunder God technique, Azure Dragon, sealed. Inventory, Zanpakuto, Zangetsu. Seeing that both my physique and magic power had reached the peak of mid-class level, I felt a surge of satisfaction. This meant I could use the Azure Dragon's power for longer periods and with less strain on my body. Just as I was reveling in my power boost, a flash of crimson appeared before me, and Rias was suddenly standing right in front of me, staring intently. Remembering Rias's personality and her current predicament, I felt a slight twitch in the corner of my mouth, and my smile became a bit stiff. Is something the matter, Rias? Kyoya-kun. Rias took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. Everyone else stopped their chatter and quietly watched us. She stared at me for a long moment, then finally spoke, her voice soft yet firm. Even though you rejected me before, and it's a bit embarrassing to ask again, I have to try once more. Kyoya-kun, will you become my peerage member? I looked at Rias's expression without changing my own. Her face was flushed, but her tone was serious, and her eyes were filled with anticipation. Hearing Rias's invitation, her peerage members all looked at me, their own hopes evident in their eyes. From their perspective, it was easy to see why. As a mere human, I possessed incredible power, and if I were to become a reincarnated devil under Rias, with my seemingly limitless potential, there was no telling how strong I might become. I was practically a blank slate with monstrous talent. However, Tomo, standing on the other side, felt a pang of complexity. If only he had challenged her sooner, she could have discovered him first and taken him to meet her own master, Sona. With my talent and strength, Sona would have undoubtedly recruited me, and I would have become a member of their family. They could have trained in swordsmanship together and spent time with each other every day. But now, it seemed it was too late. Tomo sighed, a hint of bitterness in her eyes. Kaneko stared at me, her thoughts unreadable. If Pervert Senpai becomes Rias Bucho's peerage member, then I can be with him all the time without any problems. Kaneko was naturally quite happy with this thought. Akino seemed calm, as she had already wanted Rias to recruit me. That way, they could always be together, and she could tease her boyfriend to her heart's content. No one wanted me to become Rias's peerage member more than she did. Similarly, Kiba was also quite pleased with the prospect. If I joined their group, he could regularly spar with me to further improve his swordsmanship. No matter what, having another strong member was always a good thing. Looking at the hopeful expressions of Rias and the others, I remained silent for a long time. They didn't rush me. I'm really sorry, Rias. I don't want to be under anyone's authority. I know you treat your peerage members like family, but I'm quite content being human right now. I haven't considered becoming a devil, so please forgive me for having to refuse. To be honest, I didn't want Rias to. I see. I understand. A flicker of disappointment flashed in Rias's eyes, and her face fell. But she quickly masked her disappointment with a gentle smile. There's no need to apologize. I understand your perspective. It would be quite unsettling to suddenly ask you to become my peerage member. So, I'd like you to join the Occult Research Club first. But I will always be waiting for you to change your mind. Because I want to be family with you, Kyoya-kun. After speaking her piece, Rias seemed to regain her spirits. She was determined to have me. But Rias's vow-like declaration made the atmosphere even more awkward. Become family with pervert senpai. Kaneko blinked her large, doll-like eyes, her expression unreadable. This is surprising. Rias, you're being quite bold, saying you want to be family with Kyoya-kun and all. But I won't give him up so easily, you know? After all, Kyoya-kun did say he was going to marry me. The red-haired girl was stunned speechless by Akino's sudden teasing. Rias stood there, frozen, her face flushed. After a moment, she finally reacted to Akino's teasing. Wait, that's not what I meant. Kyoya-kun, don't misunderstand, that's really not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Rias-chan? Why, you're impossible, Akino. I just meant as regular family. Don't twist my words. Faced with Akino's relentless teasing, Rias was flustered, her face beat red. What a mess. Kaneko and Kiba looked at each other, not understanding how things had turned out this way. They both let out helpless sighs. Tomo remained silent. This was their business, and she had no right to interfere. But the thought of me refusing Rias's offer made her feel a little relieved. However, Rias and Akino's words made her uneasy. This won't do. I need to go back and report this to my master. We have to get Hibari-san on our side. Tomo's eyes were resolute. She wouldn't give me up so easily. Seeing Tomo's expression, Rias and the others could guess what she was thinking. But they had no reason to stop her. Instead, they turned their attention to me, their expressions complicated. Their words were caught in their throats, turning into sighs. Hibari-san is really something else. Who would have thought that the formerly unremarkable shut-in would be such a skilled swordsman? And now, he had even caught Rias's eye. Looking at the complicated interactions between the girls, I felt a pang of guilt towards Rias. If it were in the past, I would have jumped at the chance to become Rias's peerage member, especially with her being so proactive. But now, it was impossible. I had awakened the system. I had my own plans. Becoming a devil wasn't the ideal choice. Devils might hold a certain position in this world. But in the grand scheme of the multiverse, they were insignificant. There were countless bloodlines far more powerful than that of a devil. Just consider the Azure Dragon's soul power I possessed, or the angels and gods of destruction from the Dragon Ball universe, and the evil gods that would later invade the DxD world. Devils wouldn't even be worthy of shining their shoes. Chapter 13, First Battle with a Fallen Angel, Rescuing Saji. As everyone was still discussing the previous events, I idly opened the system interface and my eyes widened. A new red grade task had appeared without any prior warning. And the person involved in the task was someone I was familiar with. Ding! Task issued, protect Saji Genturu's life and extract his sacred gear. Saji Genturu, Sona Sitri's pawn. He was the secretary of the student council and a second-year student, just like Issei. He was also the host of Vritra, one of the 5 Dragon Kings. In Volume 7, Azazel infused him with 3 other sacred gears that also contained the soul of Vritra: Black Flare, Delete Field, and Shadow Imprisonment. Using these 4 sacred gears, Saji could use Dragon King transformation, turning into a giant, serpentine black dragon. However, he was prone to losing control, which was why he needed Issei around to help him maintain his sanity. This task was incredibly tempting, with a very generous reward. If I completed it, not only would I receive the sacred gear containing the soul of a Black Dragon King, but I would also get red great reward. And the time was tonight? I narrowed my eyes, my mind racing. After a moment of consideration, I decided to accept the task. After all, red grade tasks weren't exactly common. It was a chance to turn rags into riches. I wasn't going to let a little danger stop me. Rias. I just remembered I have something to take care of. I need to head out. I'll see you later. All right. Rias, Aquino, and the others exchanged glances, then Rias nodded in understanding. As evening approached, I followed the map's directions and quickly arrived at the designated location. It was a small street adjacent to a shopping center. Normally, there should have been plenty of people around at this time, but strangely, the area was deserted. A high school student with brown hair was looking around nervously, his scalp tingling. There were a lot of people here just a moment ago. How did they all disappear in the blink of an eye? What the hell is going on? Saji was terrified. A thick fog had rolled in, obscuring everything in the distance. He was trapped in a dead end, unable to find his way out. I'm terribly sorry. Just as Saji was panicking, a dull voice sounded, causing him to turn around abruptly. Behind him, a strange middle-aged man wearing a thick black coat and a fedora appeared. Your life ends here. You could have lived a carefree life, but unfortunately, you have a dangerous sacred gear inside you. The man's face was pale and cold, his eyes devoid of any human emotion. So, I have no choice but to kill you. As he finished speaking, a pair of black wings sprouted from his back. At the same time, a spear made of holy energy materialized in his hand. Black wings, a fallen angel? Are you kidding me? Saji was stunned, feeling like his entire worldview was crumbling. Fallen angels were mythical beings that, in his mind, only existed in anime and manga. And now, he was being told they were real? And that this fallen angel was going to kill him because of some sacred gear? He watched as the spear, formed from holy energy, shot towards him at an incredible speed. Saji's face turned ashen, his mind blank. Just as the spear was about to pierce him, a black, magic-infused slash cut through the air, obliterating the incoming spear and saving Saji from certain death. A human? The middle-aged fallen angel, Danasik, was surprised, looking at me as I appeared within his barrier, Zanpakuto in hand. Hibari-san. Saji was once again stunned. Not only had a mythical fallen angel appeared, but now his classmate was acting strangely too? Was he dreaming? Who are you? Could it be, you brat, that you are also a sacred gear wielder? Danasik's face darkened as he coldly questioned me, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Are you Hibari-san? Saji asked me, bewildered. He naturally recognized me. I was a well-known figure at the academy, often called one of the school's 2 princes alongside Kiba, and the dream guy of countless girls. He had been envious of that in the past. But now, Saji was incredibly grateful. Because my appearance meant I was there to save him. Before you ask for someone's identity, shouldn't you introduce yourself? I flickered and appeared directly in front of Danasik, my left hand gripping him by the throat, lifting him into the air. Exclamation point. Danasik was horrified, finding it hard to believe what was happening. He had been defeated in an instant, his life now in my hands. My strength was undoubtedly beyond anything he could comprehend. Damn it! Danasik struggled, trying to break free, only to realize after a few moments that he was completely powerless. Now, I'll ask the questions, and you just answer. Understand? I casually tossed him to the ground like a piece of trash. Understood, sir, please, ask away? Donasek trembled, nodding frantically. Most people couldn't remain calm in the face of death. Compared to his dignity, he wanted to live. Where is your fallen angel base here? How many of you are there? I asked nonchalantly, waving my zanpakuto. Our base is in a dilapidated church outside the city. There are about a dozen fallen angels, and the strongest is only a peak low-class fallen angel. Just as I remembered from my past life. It seemed I could go to their base and wipe them out for some rewards. A plan formed in my mind. I've told you everything. So, can I leave now? Donasek asked, his voice trembling. Did I say I'd let you go? I asked with a playful tone. As a cold glint flashed in the darkness, a pained cry echoed through the alley. Donasek's body was split in two, and he collapsed to the ground, dead, his eyes filled with unwillingness. I paid no attention to his gruesome expression and simply zapped his corpse with lightning, reducing it to ashes. Saji-san, how does it feel to face death? I turned to Saji and asked casually. Thank you so much for saving me, Hibari-san. Saji bowed deeply in gratitude. I waved my hand dismissively. Stand up. Saji stood up straight, looking at me with a mixture of gratitude and admiration. My actions earlier had been incredibly cool. Just in case, Saji-san, let me explain why you were attacked by a fallen angel, I said, rubbing my temples. And then I'll offer you some solutions. Please, tell me everything. Saji nodded earnestly, his expression serious. I nodded and began to explain the basic relationship between sacred gears, humans, and fallen angels. Chapter 14, First Red Reward. Is this the real world? Are you kidding me? A department specifically established to monitor sacred gear wielders, with the authority to eliminate those deemed potentially dangerous? That's insane. Saji's face was a mask of disbelief. Don't be so pessimistic. Even the fallen angels aren't completely heartless. They usually just monitor. As long as the host doesn't awaken the sacred gear or engage in dangerous behavior, they won't just kill indiscriminately, I said nonchalantly. Your near-death experience was a special case. I shrugged and continued, that guy was acting against orders, hunting down sacred gear wielders on his own. I see. Saji's heart was pounding, his hands fidgeting nervously. So, I shouldn't be in any more danger now, right? Well, maybe, probably, you'll still be hunted, I guess? I said, feigning contemplation. What? Why? Saji panicked. Because the sacred gear within you is a bit dangerous. It contains a quarter of the soul of Vritra. This Dragon King is known to be particularly evil and insane, with a high chance of driving its host to lose control. Furthermore, your intact sacred gear is considered a high tier 1, add the dangerous nature of the Black Dragon King, and you're basically a prime target for elimination. I explained with a serious expression. Hearing my explanation, Saji froze, as if he had been petrified, not knowing what to do. Saji-san, I can offer you two choices. I paused, then continued with a smile. First, I can help you extract the sacred gear. You'll return to being an ordinary human and can live a normal life. Second, you can do nothing and hope that some devil will recruit you as their peerage member. But before that happens, the fallen angels might find you and kill you. In my past life, I didn't dislike Saji. He was more open-minded compared to the perverted Issei. Otherwise, I might have taken more drastic measures, even if it meant foregoing the task reward. Become a devil. There are devils in this world, too. Saji was stunned. I think being a normal person is pretty good. Please, Hibari-san, help me remove the sacred gear. Saji said with a wry smile. Hearing Saji's choice, I used the system's power to quickly extract the Vritra's sacred gears from Saji's body. You might wonder why extracting a sacred gear wouldn't cause death. Well, with the almighty power of the system, anything is possible. This is the sacred gear that was inside me. Saji stared at the writhing mass of black energy, a chill running down his spine. That's right. It's an evil dragon, so naturally, it's pretty malevolent. I shrugged. The system had already purified the soul within. I then stored it in my inventory. Even a complete Vritra's sacred gears was only a high tier, just below a Longinus. If I could gather and purify Vritra's soul in the future, I might give it to one of my women as a gift. I glanced at Saji and, with the system's help, erased his memories of the recent events. Saji would probably no longer become one of Sona Sitri's peerage members. But that was his choice. I didn't force him. I had no reason to feel guilty. Ha! Hibari-san, why are you here? What happened just now? I can't seem to remember anything. Saji scratched his head, confused. If you can't remember, just let it go. You might remember tomorrow, I said with a chuckle. Without waiting for Saji's response, I turned and left, leaving him standing there, bewildered. What just happened? I hurried home and eagerly checked the reward for this task. After all, it was my first red grade reward, and I was filled with anticipation. System, show me the task reward. Ding! Protected Saji Genturu's life and extracted the sacred gear. Reward, Uchiha Madara version, Rinnegan. Holy crap, I actually got Madara's Rinnegan. I trembled with excitement, unable to believe that a mere red grade reward could be so generous. Madara's Rinnegan was incredibly powerful and versatile. For example, Tengai Shinsei could summon a giant meteor from the sky to cleanse the battlefield. Shibaku Tensei was another powerful ability that could create a large black sphere with a powerful gravitational pull. Not to mention Limbo, Border Jail, another of Madara's Rinnegan abilities. With Limbo, he could split off his shadows that could block enemy attacks or be used for surprise attacks. Madara had used this technique to instantly defeat the tailed beasts with only one Rinnegan. What's more, I could now absorb the magic power of others in this world to replenish my own, in addition to the usual, attractive, and repulsive forces. Taking the risk of being targeted by fallen angels was totally worth it for this reward. I grinned, then used my magic power to summon a mirror, admiring my new purple, ripple-patterned eyes. I was now truly capable of protecting myself. With a fully mastered Rinnegan, I could probably face peak high-class opponents without fear. But my magic power reserves were still a major limitation. I couldn't sustain high-intensity battles for long. It was a problem I needed to address. Well, as the saying goes, every journey begins with a single step. I'll solve this problem eventually by completing more tasks. No use worrying about it now. Time for bed. I flopped onto my bed and quickly drifted off to sleep. Little did I know that my actions had thrown the student council into chaos. After leaving the occult research club, Tomo had rushed back to the student council room. Bang! The door was thrown open. Tomo, that's rude. You didn't even knock. Seeing Tomo burst in without knocking, the student council vice president, Tsubaki Shinra, immediately reprimanded her with a stern expression. Hee, sorry, Tsubaki. But I have something really important to tell the president. Tomo stuck out her tongue playfully, begging for forgiveness. Tomo bowed slightly to the bespectacled, short-haired girl in the president's chair, then excitedly exclaimed, "President, I discovered a genius swordsman today." No, he's a genius in every aspect. He's definitely the one you've been searching for. We can't let this opportunity slip away. Oh? It's rare to see you praise someone so highly, Tomo. Tell me more. Sona Sitri looked at her with surprise. Tsubaki Shinra, standing beside her, also showed interest, waiting for Tomo's explanation. It's like this. Tomo then excitedly recounted everything that had happened at the Kendo Club, naturally exaggerating some details in my favor. You're saying that this student, Hibari Kyoya, defeated all the members of the Kendo Club with a single strike and then defeated you? Sona's eyes widened in surprise. That's right. I was shocked too. Hibari-san's swordsmanship is incredibly strong. Tomo admitted, a little embarrassed. she had initially wanted to defeat me, only to be utterly defeated instead. Then, Tomo continued, but Hibari-san's abilities go far beyond that. Afterward, we went to. She excitedly recounted everything that happened at the Occult Research Club. You're saying that Hibari Kyoya defeated Kiba Yuto in a matter of seconds? This time, Sona couldn't remain seated. She stood up abruptly, her eyes filled with disbelief. I know that Kiba Yuto is Rias-sama's knight. He's so strong that even I might not be able to defeat him. To be defeated so quickly. It's simply unbelievable. Tsubaki Shinra, another beautiful girl present, expressed her disbelief with a stunned expression. But that's what happened. Kiba-san was defeated by Hibari-san with ease, Tomo added with a serious expression. After Tomo finished speaking, Sona and Tsubaki exchanged a look, both seeing the excitement in each other's eyes. Hibari Kyoya, highly skilled in swordsmanship and close combat, possesses lightning and space magic, likely has a sacred gear, and is a good person. I must have him as my peerage member. Rias, I won't just hand him over to you. Even though Rias had met Hibari Kyoya first, he hadn't agreed to become her peerage member yet. Sona had every right to compete, despite their close friendship. Chapter 15, A New Red Grade Task. I opened my eyes and glanced at the clock. It was already 10 a.m. I slowly got out of bed, washed up, ate breakfast, and headed out. Since it was a day off, Koho Town had transformed from a peaceful little town into a bustling hub of activity. The streets were filled with students, but I was heading towards the academy. To improve my physical strength and magic power, I needed to find more tasks and earn rewards. So, my plan was to search for incomplete tasks within the academy grounds. My primary target was the other devil gathering place, the student council. But to my pleasant surprise, I ran into one of the people I most wanted to meet before I even reached the school gates. Student Council President Sona Sitri, and her Vice President, Tsubaki Shinra. Well, if it isn't Sona Kaishu and Tsubaki-san. What a coincidence. Indeed, Hibari-san. It is quite a coincidence. We were just about to go looking for you, and here you are. But why are you pretending to be so listless? Are you trying to avoid attention? Sona's gaze behind her glasses was complex, and her expression was strange. Well, this. Hearing Sona's pointed questions, I couldn't help but feel a twitch in the corner of my mouth. This was definitely Tomo's fault for exaggerating things again. That blabbermouth, Tomo. I'm not hiding anything. This is just how I am, Sona-san. Before I could finish, Tsubaki cut me off. If you're going to keep pretending, then there's no point in talking. That loudmouth Tomo, what nonsense did she spread this time? Seeing Tsubaki's stern tone, I knew that pretending was useless. But I still inwardly cursed. Unbeknownst to me, this encounter was orchestrated by Sona. She had been having her familiars monitor me since I left my house, all the way to the school, all to create this chance encounter. Ding! Discovered target character, Sona Sitri. Task grade, red. Task condition, refuse to become her peerage member and help her find a peerage member with a sacred gear. Ding! Discovered target character, Tsubaki Shinra. Task grade, red. Task condition, defeat her in a direct confrontation. I looked at the newly issued tasks and nodded thoughtfully. They were both high class, so the task grades were within my expectations. But thinking about the Rinnegan I received from the last red grade reward, I couldn't help but get excited about these two new red grade tasks. However, Sona's task was a bit of a headache. Refusing her offer was easy, but finding her a peerage member with a sacred gear was troublesome. Male candidates were out of the question. But finding a female sacred gear wielder was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Although, I did have the Vritra's sacred gears I extracted from Saji. Damn, how could I forget about that? I had a ready-made sacred gear. Why bother looking for another one? I could just find a girl I knew and implant the sacred gear in her. TSK, this task was easier than I thought. As for Tsubaki's task, that was even simpler. Although I couldn't fully utilize my power yet, I was at least at peak high class. Seeing my expression shift from a frown to a slight smile, Sona, who had no idea what I was thinking, was a little confused. Since we've met here, Hibari-san, I won't beat around the bush. With your intelligence, you probably already know why I'm looking for you. That's right, Tomo has told me about you. You have exceptional talent and potential. Therefore, I would like to invite you to become my peerage member. Will you accept? I looked at the familiar scene before me and sighed helplessly. Sigh, you and Rias are really two peas in a pod. But Tomo should have told you that I already rejected Rias. I have no intention of becoming a devil at the moment. So, I'm sorry, Sona-san. I heard about that from Tomo, but I still wanted to try. I won't give up so easily. Rias and I are quite similar in this regard. We're both very persistent when it comes to the things we want. I'm sure Rias feels the same way. Having already anticipated my refusal, Sona didn't seem too disappointed. But a hint of regret still lingered on her face. You and Rias are truly good friends. You even act the same when recruiting peerage members. But that's what makes you so charming, Sona-san. Hearing my compliment, Sona blushed slightly. Thank you for the compliment, Hibari-san. I'm honored. After chatting with Sona, I couldn't help but admire her. As the heiress of the Sitri clan, she carried herself with grace and elegance. Now that the system tasks had been issued, I needed to plan how to complete them. So, I didn't want to linger here any longer. In that case, I have some things to take care of. I'll take my leave. See you later, Sona-san, Tsubaki-san. After saying goodbye, I turned and headed towards the academy classrooms. It wasn't until my figure disappeared from their sight that Tsubaki finally spoke. Kaicho, why didn't you let me test him? If I could defeat him, wouldn't it be easier to make him your peerage member? Hearing Tsubaki's suggestion, Sona calmly explained, Rias met him first and intends to recruit him. I need to inform her first. So now is not the best time for you to fight Hibari-san. I'll ask for Rias's permission to let you two have a proper match. Alright, if it's because of Rias-sama, then I'll have a proper match with Hibari-san later. Then, Sona and Tsubaki headed towards the Occult Research Club, intending to discuss the matter of me with Rias. Meanwhile, I was aimlessly wandering around the academy grounds. What a busy morning. I had searched almost the entire academy and hadn't triggered a single new task. It was frustrating. Just as I was starting to doubt myself, a girl with brown hair and a braided ponytail and glasses appeared in my line of sight. It was Aika Kiryu. In the original story, she was Issei's classmate and Asia's friend. She was one of the few girls who could interact normally with the perverted trio. She often teased them. She wore glasses and claimed to have super eyes that could accurately gauge the size of a guy's little brother. She often taught Asia some rather lewd things and loved to talk about explicit topics. Chapter 16, The White Dragon Emperor and New Red Dragon Emperor appear. After watching Kiryu Aika disappear from sight, I made up my mind. She was actually quite tall, but her presence was often overshadowed by the likes of Rias, Akino, and Sona, making her seem less prominent. But if she dressed up a bit, she would definitely be a school beauty. If I could purify the Vritra's sacred gears and give it to her, then convince her to become Sona's peerage member, I could not only complete the system task but also gain a beautiful wife. It would be killing two birds with one stone. But there was no hurry. I could wait for the right opportunity. My mood was excellent, almost as if I were enjoying air conditioning and an ice-cold Sprite on a hot summer day. Just then, I noticed two young men in stylish outfits standing on a nearby bridge. My pupils contracted. Both of them had black, system-issued task markers above their heads. Black grade tasks, and two of them at once. I froze, staring at them, muttering under my breath. Why? Why were there beings of this level in Kauto town? According to the original story, Asia hadn't even arrived yet, and the whole fallen angel Cadre Kokobile incident was still a long way off. Black grade characters were the strongest I had encountered so far. Black corresponded to ultimate class, and for two of them to appear at once was completely unexpected. I had no idea what they were doing here. As I approached, I recognized one of them. It was none other than the popular character from the original story, the White Dragon Emperor Valley Lucifer. He was the descendant of the original Mao Lucifer, born from the union of Lucifer's grandson and a human. He was born with the divine dividing, one of the 13 Longinus, and he was a battle maniac with an insatiable thirst for combat. Ding! Discovered target character, White Dragon Emperor Valley. Task grade, Black. Task condition, defeat him in a direct confrontation and make him acknowledge you. Ding! Discovered target character, Red Dragon Emperor Lux. Task grade, Black. Task condition, defeat him in a direct confrontation and make him acknowledge you. Note, due to the host's arrival, the world has corrected itself, and Lux is the new host of the Red Dragon Emperor. What the hell? I was wondering where Hayadu Issei went, and what happened to the Red Dragon Emperor, so it was this. After hearing the system's notification, I froze, rooted to the spot. A new Red Dragon Emperor? And he's already ultimate class from the get-go? Are you kidding me? I've been struggling just to reach peak high class, and you throw this at me? And he's with Valley, of all people. Aren't they supposed to be sworn enemies? You want me to fight two ultimate class opponents, both likely possessing the Juggernaut drive, right now? Do you want me dead? Not only can I not fully utilize the Rinnegan power yet, but my magic reserves are also insufficient. My only chance of winning would be to use my trump card, the Azure Dragon power. Its aura alone would probably be enough to kill them instantly. But then I'd have no trump card left, and if someone discovered my weakness while I was still vulnerable, I'd be in deep trouble. After much deliberation, I decided to forego the task for now. There was no time limit anyway. I could wait until the peace conference between the angels, fallen angels, and devils to reveal my trump card and deal with them. By then, my strength would have reached the top tiers of this world, and I'd be much safer. So, I strode confidently across the street and approached the two. I sensed you staring at us earlier. You seem to know who we are. Care to chat? Vala said, a hint of amusement in his eyes as I approached. Hearing Vala's words, I had a sudden thought and decided to probe. Of course. After all, who wouldn't recognize the renowned White Dragon Emperor and Red Dragon Emperor? I'm just curious why you two, sworn enemies, are here together. The calmness of the Red Dragon Emperor, Lux, shattered, and he stared at me in astonishment. Ha! That's interesting. I've never heard of you, never even seen you before, yet you know who I am. Impressive. So, why are you two? Lux and I have known each other for a while. We just happened to run into each other on the way here, so we came together. Valley answered my question before I could finish. I see, I nodded. That explained why they were getting along so well. Normally, the White Dragon Emperor and the Red Dragon Emperor would fight to the death whenever they met. But since they knew each other, even if they did fight because of their rivalry, it probably wouldn't be a fight to the death like before. After thinking for a moment, I asked again, I'm curious. Why have the two heavenly dragons come to this city? What could have brought you here together? You live here and you don't know? A few days ago, something happened in this city that shook the entire world. Lux seemed a little surprised, then continued in a low voice. Something that shook the world? How come I don't know about it? I frowned. I couldn't recall anything like that happening. Maybe you didn't notice. It happened very quickly, Lux continued. Meanwhile, Vela's expression turned serious as he explained, a few days ago, a giant dragon's phantom appeared in the sky above Kauto. Its aura alone was enough to make the world tremble. It could be clearly seen from heaven, hell, the underworld, pantheons, and everywhere else. So, obviously, many factions have sent people to investigate. No wonder they had come to investigate. Although I maintained a surprised expression on the outside, Valley caught the flash of understanding and helplessness in my eyes. Valley was incredibly surprised, but he didn't question me about it. But he was almost certain that I knew something about the dragon's phantom, and might even be connected to it. Chapter 17, Identity Exposed? Vala smiled and shook his head. Don't worry. If we don't find any clues, we'll be leaving in a few days. But you seem pretty strong. We should spar sometime. Hey, Valley. If anyone's going to fight him, it's me. Unless you want to fight me first. Lux exclaimed, practically vibrating with excitement. You're such a pain, Lux. Vala sighed, already regretting this encounter. He knew exactly what Lux wanted, a fight with him. This generation's Red Dragon Emperor was even more of a battle maniac than he was. If that's what you both want, then so be it. As for sparring, we'll have time later. I had figured it out by now. This generation's heavenly dragons were both battle-crazed. After chatting with them for a bit, I couldn't stand the Red Dragon Emperor's constant challenges anymore, so I made my exit. As I disappeared down the street, a deep voice echoed in Lux's mind, the voice of the Red Dragon Emperor, Drag. What do you think of him? The two remained silent for a while, then Lux said with a grin, he's not as simple as he seems. On the surface, he appears to have the physical strength of a peak mid-class, but he emanates an aura that makes me feel a sense of awe, even a hint of mortal danger. Oh? You felt it too? It seems it wasn't just my imagination. Even though he knows who we are, he remained completely calm. He even gave me the impression that he could kill us at any moment. Albion, Drag, what did you two sense? Indeed, I felt the same way. The feeling of unease and instinctive reverence has been present ever since we met him. The voice of one of the two heavenly dragons residing within Valley, Albion, the White Dragon Emperor, responded. It's quite astonishing, isn't it? To think that something like this could happen. It's surprising that you both experienced such a strange sensation. Drag's clear voice rang out. Even though he seemed surprised when he heard about the dragon's phantom, I still detected a different kind of emotional shift on his face. What do you think that means? Vala spoke meaningfully, causing the two heavenly dragons and Lux to narrow their eyes in shock, even fear. Valley, are you suggesting that he's connected to that dragon's phantom? Lux asked, his expression still one of shock, a little uncertain. It's just a guess, but based on his behavior, it's a very real possibility, Vala said, his gaze distant. After all, if it were just his surface-level strength, he wouldn't have been so confident in facing us. But if he really is connected to that dragon's phantom, then everything makes sense. Unless he's hiding an unfathomable amount of power, there's no way he'd be so composed. After a moment of contemplation, Vala shared his bold deduction. If that's true, then everything adds up. But this information would probably send shockwaves throughout the entire world. Even so, it makes me want to fight him even more. I want to see what it is that surpasses even Great Red and the Infinite Dragon God. Lux's eyes were filled with a burning intensity. What an unbelievable truth. But if that's the case, it seems you found a new opponent. Indeed. Valley also looked in the direction I had disappeared, his eyes full of anticipation. We won't have to wait long for our fight. When the time comes, I'll definitely have a good, long battle with him. Sigh, that poor boy. Albion and Drag couldn't help but feel sorry for me. They were both very satisfied with their current hosts. However, their only flaw was their excessive love for battle. They were complete and utter battle maniacs. Anyone targeted by such battle-hungry individuals would have a massive headache. After leaving, I immediately headed to the Occult Research Club. As soon as I pushed open the door, I saw that the lights in the living room were already on. Okino was brewing tea, and Kaneko was sitting on the couch, snacking. Surprisingly, Rias and Sona were sitting across from each other, seemingly discussing something, while Kiba and Tsubaki stood behind them, respectively. Arakayo-kun, you're here. I felt it was necessary to inform Rias of something. Seeing me enter, Okino stopped what she was doing and gave me a big smile. I nodded at her with a smile, then sat down next to Kaneko and couldn't resist patting her head. Kaneko glanced at me, then swatted my hand away, her expression cold. pervert senpai. Gross. I hate you. Ha, I just can't help it. Kaneko-chan is just too cute. I chuckled awkwardly, knowing that Kaneko was probably still upset about the earlier incident. Era Kyoya-kun, that's sexual harassment, you know. And Kaneko-chan is still underage. If you really want to do something naughty, you can do it with me. After all, I'm your girlfriend, remember? Akino leaned in close, her ample bosom almost pressing against me, her voice a seductive whisper. Hearing Akino's enticing words, anyone else would have been over the moon. But I knew about her sadistic tendencies, and I caught the mischievous glint in her eyes. I might have fallen for it otherwise. TSK, I do indeed want to do something naughty. How about it, Akino? Are you free later? I met Akino's gaze with a playful smile, turning the tables and teasing her back. Era, how forward of you. I'm certainly intrigued. Akino was slightly taken aback. She hadn't expected me to so boldly flirt back. She responded with a blush, feigning shyness. Rias and the others watched us with strange expressions. Sona and Tsubaki decided it was best to excuse themselves, as this was a private matter between me and Rias's group. Sona Kaishu, Tsubaki-san, there's no need to leave. I was originally planning to tell you something through Rias, so this saves me the trouble. I quickly got up and stopped them, smiling faintly. Hearing my words, Sona and Tsubaki exchanged a glance, then sat back down, curious to hear what I had to say. Chapter 18, New Green Sign-In, The Arrival of Asia. Kyoya-kun, what are you going to tell us? Rias asked, a little puzzled. Earlier this morning, I ran into two powerful individuals. The hosts of the two heavenly dragons, the Red Dragon Emperor Drake, and the White Dragon Emperor Albion. Hearing this, Rias's face filled with shock. Even Sona, and the usually expressionless Kaneko, had serious expressions on their faces. This was not something to be taken lightly. Every generation of the two heavenly dragons' hosts were incredibly powerful. Their appearance often heralded an era of chaos and bloodshed. Kyoya-kun, are you sure? Rias's eyes were wide with astonishment as she stared at me, seeking confirmation. Sona also spoke up, her voice serious. Hibari-san, is your information reliable? Yeah, it's hard to believe that the two heavenly dragons, who are considered sworn enemies, would appear together in Kauto town. I can assure you that the information is absolutely correct. I met them myself and had a conversation with them. They didn't hide their identities and explained their reasons for being here. I see, then there's no reason to doubt the accuracy of the information. Rias and the others nodded thoughtfully. I then recounted my entire conversation with Valley and Lux, causing Rias and Sona's expressions to grow increasingly serious. The White Dragon Emperor and Red Dragon Emperor are already at the ultimate class. This is really quite daunting. Rias leaned back in her chair, sighing and rubbing her forehead. Sona, across from her, wasn't faring much better. Her pretty brows were furrowed tightly. The situation was getting increasingly out of hand. First, there was the Dragon's Phantom, and now two actual ultimate class beings had shown up, both possessing Longinus sacred gears. Sona glanced at me, then suppressed the urge to ask further questions. Hibari-san, did they say anything else? You don't need to worry too much. The Red Dragon Emperor and White Dragon Emperor seem to be battle maniacs, but they aren't evil. They're here to search for the Dragon's Phantom and said they'd leave in a few days if they didn't find anything. It shouldn't affect us too much. I explained. I suppose that's a relief. More and more troublesome figures are arriving in Kauto town. The situation is beyond our control now. Rias breathed a small sigh of relief and dismissed her worries, getting up and walking to the window, gazing out at Kauto town. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, several more days passed. I had been living a rather peaceful life during this time. However, today, I didn't go to school as usual. Instead, I asked for a leave of absence and spent the day wandering the streets. The reason, of course, was a system task. I knew that the cute, kind-hearted nun, Asia Argento, had arrived in Kauto town. Even without the system task, I could clearly see her location on the virtual map. After all, there was a green dot representing a valuable reward slowly moving around. Next, I should go find Asia. I looked at the map expectantly and headed off to find her. Meanwhile, on a street in Kauto town, a petite girl with a gentle demeanor was looking around helplessly, hoping someone could help her. She wore a nun's habit, complete with a veil, but her dazzling golden hair, clear, innocent green eyes, and fair skin were still visible. She was small and delicate, inspiring a desire to protect her. Although many passers-by wanted to help the adorable, almost illegally cute girl, they couldn't understand her English and reluctantly shook their heads and walked away. I had actually arrived a while ago. Just then, the system's mechanical voice rang in my mind again. Ding! Discovered target character, Asia Argento. Task grade, green. Task condition, inform Asia Argento of the truth about the church and the fallen angels and have her willingly become your family member. I didn't pay much attention to the system task. My attention was completely captivated by the girl in front of me. Seeing her predicament, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. Originally a nun of the church, she possessed the sacred gear, Twilight Healing, which could heal the injuries of humans and angels. She was known as the Holy Maiden. However, because of her kind heart, she once accidentally healed a devil. When the church discovered that her sacred gear could heal angels, fallen angels, and devils, she was branded a witch. She was stripped of her title as a Holy Maiden and expelled from the church. In order to continue using her sacred gear to help more people, she sought refuge with the fallen angels. But sadly, in their eyes, she was a tool, even though she held no resentment towards them. Hello, do you need any help? I finally approached Asia and asked in fluent English. Oh, thank the Lord. He must have heard my prayers. My sudden appearance startled Asia, but then she clasped her hands together in front of her chest, her face flushed with excitement as she began to pray. Seeing this, I couldn't help but twitch my eyelids, remaining silent. Asia-chan, your Lord, the biblical God, is long gone. Your prayers are useless. I thought to myself. But I didn't tell her this. Now wasn't the time. Someone else would reveal this information to her later. I just didn't know if she could handle the harsh truth. Hello, my name is Asia Argento. I'm new here and don't understand Japanese. I got lost and can't find the church. I don't know what to do. Asia blushed, looking at me shyly and apologetically. Hearing Asia's voice, I felt my heart melt. Her nun's habit, combined with her soft, gentle voice, was simply irresistible. You're trying to find the church, right? I smiled softly. Yes, could you please tell me how to get there? Asia's eyes sparkled with hope. No need to be so polite. I have some free time right now, so I can take you there, I offered, waving my hand. My name is Hibari Kyoya. You can just call me Kyoya. Okay, Kyoya-san. Thank you so much. Asia's face flushed, and she bowed her head, her eyes curving into crescent moons. You're such a good person. The Lord will surely bless you. Am I a good person? I couldn't help but smile wryly. Had I just been given a good person card? Hey! Asia-chan, I'm here to kidnap you. Chapter 19, Operation Seduce Asia in progress. As we were heading towards the church, Asia's stomach started to growl. Her face instantly turned bright red. She took a deep breath, her big eyes blinking, and then gave me a shy smile. Sorry, I forgot you haven't eaten yet, Asia-chan. We still have time. Why don't you come to my place, eat something, and rest a bit? I'll take you to the church later tonight. I suggested with a smile. Asia was a little surprised. Being so pure and trusting, she completely believed me and nodded. I'm sorry for the trouble, Kyoya-san. Thank you so much. Sigh, this poor girl is too kind and easily fooled. If I were a bad guy, I could probably take advantage of her 100 times over. But that's also part of her charm. I thought to myself, a little exasperated. I carried Asia's suitcase in one hand and held her small hand with the other. Asia seemed a little shy about this sudden hand-holding, but she didn't seem to dislike it. Soon, we arrived at my home. Asia-chan, why don't you relax in the living room or watch some TV? I'll make dinner, and then we can eat. I suggested. Kyoya-san, I can help. Hearing my words, Asia eagerly offered to assist. Cooking isn't that much trouble. Just sit back and relax, Asia-chan. Today, you'll get to try some Japanese cuisine you've probably never had before. Seeing how enthusiastic she was, I gently dissuaded her. Oh, okay. Asia obediently waited in the living room. Soon, Asia and I were sitting across from each other at the dining table, with 2 bowls of rice and several dishes that Asia had never seen before. You grew up in Europe, Asia-chan, so you probably haven't had much experience with this kind of Eastern cuisine. Give it a try. Really? In that case, I won't hold back. Asia said, picking up her bowl of rice. But she fumbled with the chopsticks, not knowing how to use them properly. She ended up asking me for help. After I demonstrated, she managed to eat her meal with the chopsticks. Well, I actually ended up feeding her most of it. Thank you so much, Kyoya-san. This meal was better than any I've ever had. Asia expressed her gratitude, her face beaming with happiness. You're very welcome. Feel free to come over anytime. As I said this, I gently wiped away a few grains of rice that were stuck to the corner of her mouth. Seeing my actions, Asia's face flushed, and her heart started to race. She felt flustered, like a lake rippled by a gentle breeze. For dessert, how about some ice cream, Asia-chan? I offered, taking out some vanilla ice cream from the fridge. Thank you, Kyoya-san. Asia blushed and accepted the ice cream, thanking me softly. Then, Asia stuck out her little pink tongue and gently licked the ice cream. The taste of vanilla exploded in her mouth. Asia couldn't help but carefully, slowly bringing her lips to the ice cream, making soft sounds as she licked it, her delicate tongue gently caressing the surface. Honestly, the sight was incredibly alluring, almost too much to handle. Asia's innocent eyes, her beautiful face, her former status as a holy maiden, and her nun's habit created a sense of purity being defiled, which was undeniably stimulating. To think that I could witness such an aro kawaii expression just from her eating ice cream. It was amazing. But more than anything, I felt a pang of sympathy for Asia. Even eating a simple ice cream was something she had to savor slowly, and such a small thing brought her so much joy. It made me feel a deep sense of compassion for her. Ah! Suddenly, Asia let out a small gasp. Some of the melted ice cream had dripped onto her clothes. Oh, Kyoya-san, what a waste! Asia looked down at the ice cream stain on her habit, a little dejected, her lips slightly pouted. I chuckled and grabbed a handkerchief, gently wiping away the stain. My kind gesture made Asia blush even harder. She looked at me shyly but didn't stop me. After I finished cleaning her up, I reminded her, there's plenty more in the fridge. Don't worry about it. I understand, thank you, Kyoya-san. Asia's face was completely flushed as she quickly started to eat the rest of her ice cream. Seeing the faint blush on Asia's cheeks, I couldn't help but reach out and gently pat her head. Kyoya-san? Startled by the sudden head pat, Asia looked up at me with a mixture of confusion and shyness. Sorry about that. I just got a little lost in thought, looking at you, Asia-chan. I explained with a chuckle. Lost in thought, looking at me? Really? Asia placed a hand on her chest, repeating my words with a mixture of confusion and happiness. Of course. Your sparkling green eyes, your dazzling golden hair, your fair skin, your rosy lips, they're all so cute and charming. I said, resting my chin on my hands, a gentle smile on my face. Really? Hearing my praise, Asia's face turned even redder, and she seemed genuinely happy. It was probably the first time anyone had ever called her cute. Even when she was a holy maiden at the church, people mostly treated her with respect, not with this kind of affection. And after she was cast out and labeled a witch, everyone looked at her with disgust and hatred. No one had ever praised her like this before. After you finish your ice cream, Asia-chan, I'll take you to the church, I said after a pause. Okay. Hearing that I was going to take her to the church, Asia's expression stiffened slightly. She had been lucky to meet such a kind and gentle person like me on her first visit to Kauto town. She wished she could live happily with me like this forever, but her identity made that impossible. Even though she had sought refuge with the fallen angels to continue using her healing powers to help others, she wasn't stupid. She knew that the fallen angels were just using her sacred gear. Seeing Asia's smile disappear and her sink into silence, I knew she probably didn't want to go to the church. After thinking for a moment, I decided to tell her the truth. Chapter 20, Brutal Truth, Killing the Stray Priest. Then, Asia-chan, I suggest you don't go to the church in this town. Asia, who had been lost in her own thoughts, looked up at me in confusion, not understanding why I would say that. Why, Kyoya-san? The reason is, well, I hope you won't be too upset when you hear this, Asia-chan. I sighed, not wanting to see the disappointment on her face, but ultimately deciding to tell her the truth so she would give up on going to the church. It's alright, please tell me, Kyoya-san. Seeing how serious I was, Asia knew that what I was about to say was important, so she nodded earnestly. With Asia staring at me intently, I slowly began to explain. The truth is, the church in Kauto town is no longer what it seems. It's been taken over by fallen angels and stray priests. They've cruelly murdered the original members of the church, and they're killing people under the pretense of monitoring sacred gear wielders, claiming it's for the sake of world peace. As I explained, Asia's mind went blank. She couldn't believe the truth could be so cruel. Even though she knew the fallen angels were using her and coveted her sacred gear, my words were still hard for her to accept. Is that so? Does that mean even my last refuge is gone? Asia's eyes dimmed, and she looked haggard and hopeless. Asia-chan. Seeing the despair in her eyes, I couldn't help but feel heartbroken for her. After a few seconds of silence, I smiled gently and softly patted Asia's head comfortingly. Don't be so pessimistic, Asia-chan. That's just a rumor. The truth might not be as bad as it sounds. And even if you have nowhere else to go, you can always stay with me. I can cook you delicious food every day. How about it? Exclamation point. Really, Kyoya-san? Can I really stay with you? Asia, who had been on the verge of despair, looked at me with renewed hope. My words were like a beacon of light in her dark world. Of course, it's true. You're such a kind and gentle girl, Asia-chan. I stroked her silky golden hair and said with genuine affection. Wah! Kyoto-san. In that instant, Asia couldn't hold back any longer. She threw herself into my arms and started to cry. From being a noble holy maiden of the church to being framed and expelled for her kindness, and then becoming a tool for the fallen angels, these tragedies were too much for the pure-hearted Asia to bear. Damn! Asia-chan, just wait here for a bit. We'll go to the church first, and then if you don't want to stay there, you can come live with me. I smiled and comforted Asia as I held her. Okay. Asia hugged me tightly, then looked up and gave me a gentle smile. Now, to her, the person who had saved her in her darkest hour was her everything. The dark grove was illuminated by the gentle moonlight filtering through the leaves, casting an ethereal glow upon the scene. Holding Asia's hand, I slowly approached the church in Kauto town. As soon as we entered the church grounds, we were hit by a strong, pungent smell. Blood. Even though I had killed a stray devil before and had blood on my hands, I couldn't help but frown at the nauseating stench of blood permeating the church. A lot of people must have died here for the smell of blood to be this strong. Oh my, oh my? It's not wise to be out for a stroll this late at night. There's a murderer on the loose, you know. So, young man, why don't you hand over that nun to me? Just then, a priest with white hair, dressed in priestly robes, suddenly appeared at the church entrance, smiling at us strangely. But his exaggerated and bizarre smile only made him look incredibly creepy to me. Oh? Why aren't you answering me? Even though I'm a merciful priest, you can't be that rude to me, can you? Seeing the priest's increasingly deranged expression, Asia instinctively felt fear and clutched my hand tightly, not daring to let go. Who do you think you are? I have no intention of being polite to a stray priest like you. Your name is Fried Selzen, right? I heard there was a murderous fiend on the loose. It was you, wasn't it? Judging by the thick stench of blood on you, you just killed someone, didn't you, you piece of trash? I frowned, my gaze turning cold. So you know who I am, ha ha. Seeing that his identity had been exposed, Fried stopped pretending and glared at me with a hideous expression, laughing maniacally. He, what if I did? I just killed a high school student just like you. The look of despair on his face before he died was so delightful. But you had the gall to call me trash. You reek of dealing with devils. You're the real trash, ha ha ha. As he spoke, Fried produced a sharp sword made of holy energy from his pocket. Humph, and that nun over there. Even though she was expelled from the church and called a witch, she still pretends to be all holy. It makes me want to vomit. Like reincarnated devils, humans who allied with fallen angels could also wield a corresponding power, which in this case was holy power. I narrowed my eyes slightly. You have forsaken the Lord's will. You are no true believer, but a heretic who has fallen into evil. The Lord will never forgive you. Asia's delicate frame trembled uncontrollably. She couldn't believe what she was seeing, her eyes filled with anger and fear. Ha, that's hilarious. You're calling me a heretic when you're the one who healed a devil? If it weren't for your sacred gear, a disgusting heretic like you would have been executed long ago. Fried laughed loudly at Asia's rebuke, as if she were nothing but a nuisance in his eyes. Asia-chan, stay back. I'll take care of this trash. I calmly held the trembling little nun, then gestured for her to move back. Asia nodded and, trusting me, stood a short distance away, watching intently. Ding! Discovered target character, Fried Selzen. Task grade, white. Task condition, kill. Even without the task, I'd kill him. A disgusting creature like him doesn't deserve to live. Ha, just a piece of human trash, and you talk so big? Do you think you can defeat me? Is that so? Before Fried could finish, I used Sora to appear before him in a blink. I grabbed his neck with my right hand, blue lightning crackling around my fingers. Raikiri! GZZZZ. I channeled 200 million volts of electricity directly into Fried's body. A burnt smell wafted through the air. Exclamation point. Fried's eyes widened in disbelief as his holy sword dissipated. His body was almost completely charred, barely recognizable. Rainer-sama will never forgive you. Fried choked out his last words, his body slumping lifelessly. Tisk, do you think I'm afraid of that ant? To be honest, I hope she comes. If she dares to show her face, I'll take care of those annoying flies once and for all. With my current strength, as long as it wasn't an established ultimate class opponent, I had nothing to fear. And besides, if I needed to, I could always use the Azure Dragon's power. It wasn't like I didn't have a trump card. Fried collapsed to the ground, dead and filled with regret. That wraps up this part of What If Sign-In System in High School DxD. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.